Database Administration, or DBA. DBA is a resource that supervises both the database and the use of the DBMS. So the use of the software, that's a DBMS, is actually the software that is used to manage the database. And also, sometimes the personnel that are involved in the managing of the database. DBA is usually a group, but sometimes it refers to the database administrator. So it can be a single person also. Now, these are the responsibilities of a DBA. One is policy formulation and implementation. So usually the policy formulation and implementation may contain the following: access privileges. So who can access this database, who can access the table, etc. Who can write, who can update. So we'll be discussing more of that as we go on. Security. So how can we secure the database? Disaster planning. So what are we going to do in case of disaster? And archives. A DBA also manages the data dictionary and also responsible in conducting training to personnel. The DBMS support is also part of the responsibility of the database administrator. So as a DBA, you'll be evaluating the DBMS. Again, the DBMS is actually the software, like for example, Oracle, MySQL, SQL Server, etc. So as a DBA, you'll be evaluating the software and you'll be selecting what is the best for your company. And also the responsibility of the software itself will be supported by the DBA. And also the DBA may be in charge of designing the databases. So not just for having a design that will work, but also the design that will be efficient for the company, or maybe for the system that will be used by the company. So let's take a bird's eye view of the roles of the DBA. So one is policy formulation and implementation. So access privileges. Again, users should access the database only in ways in which they are entitled. So let's say, for example, if you're an employee, are you entitled to update this table? Are you entitled to insert records, etc.? Security. So access restrictions ensure that the database is secure. So passwords, encryption, and views implement security, and effective password protection is critical. So these are some of the things that a DBA should do. Planning for disaster. Databases can be harmed from hardware and software malfunctions and outside forces like floods and power outages. DBAs must take active role in formulating disaster recovery plans. So there should be a plan on how to recover from disaster. So here, this is an example wherein there is a journal used by the system, and that journal will be used to recover, but we'll be taking more of this. So there's a program that records the journal. More or less, it's some sort of a log of all the activities. But we'll be discussing more of this as we go on. So archives. An archive is a place where corporate data is kept. Information is in an archive is removed from the database and stored in the archive for future reference. Archives are usually kept in a mass storage device like a disk, tape, CD, or a DVD, or maybe other media. It is important that such archives be kept off-site to allow recovery should disaster strike. So it is off-site. So it is not within the company. Maybe some actually keep their archives inside a bank. Data dictionary management. Essentially the catalog, but it comes a wider range of information, including information on tables, fields, indices, and programs. So as the DBA, you should be keeping the data dictionary management, the data dictionary. You should be managing this. The DBA manages and updates the data dictionary, which establishes naming conventions for tables, fields, etc., and data integrity rules. So that as a DBA, if you're keeping this, then the whole company, if we have developers inside the company, then they will be following some naming conventions. So there's some sort of a standard. So additional responsibilities of a DBA. So training, of course, DBA gives training on DBMS and how to access the database. That will be the role of the DBA. DBM support, the DBA is charged with all aspects of a DBMS, including selection and management. So he'll be in charge of selecting what is the best DBMS for the company. DBA must evaluate each prospective DBMS using a checklist like that shown in, no, we don't have that checklist, but there should be a checklist. There should be a standard in evaluating a DBMS. Then another responsibility of a DBA is designing the database. DBA is responsible for tuning the design, that is making changes that improve system performance. So that's all for the responsibilities of the database administrator. Thank you.